Well, hello everyone. My name is Tim Mikhelishvili, and thank you for joining our celebration as we kick off the 5th Annual Medical Innovation Olympics. Well, you're going to hear from a man who was once told that he could no longer compete because of his condition, type 1 diabetes. And not only, he recently lost all the 10 medals that he had. Five-time gold medalist swimmer Gary Hall Jr., previous keynote speaker at our event. He is a man of character, a person who fights actively for type 1 diabetes patients, who testified in front of the Congress to talk about very sensitive issues and support patients. Not only train many of his competitors, which wasn't necessarily a very much accepted in a very competitive, intense environment, even with the Olympic Committee. And so we are going to talk to him, see about his latest journey, adventure that he has gone through. Afterwards, we will also hear from our healthcare champion, David Mead, our 2025 Medical Innovation Olympics gold medalist. You're going to learn about this event, why you need to join, who's eligible, the format, the rules, how we're replicating the Olympic format, where you can also go, the website, medicalinnovationolympics.com, which is now live. Please feel free to let us know where you're watching from or listening in. So don't be shy. Comment. I know we have a global audience. We have Olympians among our audience as well who are joining. And so I had to welcome you with some music, Gary. Great to see you here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, why don't we start? And I want to ask you if you can describe the meaning of the 10 medals that you were recently awarded by the IOC, and what is their meaning? These are ones that you lost because of the LA fires, but what is their meaning compared to the original 10 gold medals? Take us through the journey you've been through over the last few years.
Thank you. I think to put some perspective on the meaning of the replica medals that were presented to me by the International Olympic Committee, I need to take a step back and address the fire that took the original medals from me. I lived as a resident in Pacific Palisades and lost my home, my business, and all worldly possessions on January 7th, 2025. And did not have much time to escape. I got out with the shirt on my back, my dog, some insulin for my diabetes, and a couple items. That was it. Not enough time to get to the bedroom where the medals were kept. So it has been a topsy-turvy year. The community that was lost, there were 7,000 homes and structures burned in Pacific Palisades alone. And having learned to swim school, I knew many of them, knew hundreds of families, taught their children how to swim, had a very personal relationship with these children and the parents. And all of that in an instant, in the matter of days, disappeared, and nothing remains. So devastation it doesn't begin to cover it. It's a word. Devastation is a word. But when you see the reality of what took place and the amount of loss, it is impossible for someone that hasn't experienced something similar, not many have, a disaster of that magnitude, that really makes it difficult to convey how low that low is in the fallout and the aftermath. For losing my home, business, and everything, $23,000 in FEMA support was was there. The safety net that we all like to believe is there for us, should something like this happen. It's pretty frail, and it doesn't get you far. All of the fundraisers that took place to help these families with kids, not a dollar, not a single family of those hundreds that I've remained in contact with, none of them have received anything of that. The NGBs and nonprofits that direct these funds. And there doesn't seem to be any accountability. So a lot of hope is dashed, as an understatement, through this fallout and aftermath. And so to have a call, initially an email from the Olympic Committee saying, we heard about the news. We want to present you with replacement medals, was a beacon in a very dark time. And so I did not expect it, truth be told. I'm far removed from being a competitor at the Olympic Games. And there have been cases through the years where Olympians have lost medals. They're not typically replaced. In fact, somebody told me, and I haven't fact checked it, but the last time that they replaced a medal was Muhammad Ali in 1996, before he lit the Olympic torch in Atlanta. And somebody told me this is a 30-year anniversary of that, by the way. He famously, I think, disclosed in his book that after coming back from Rome with the gold medal and having represented the United States of America, that after an incident of racism, he was so disenfranchised that he took the medal and threw it into the Ohio River. So the story goes. And it took the IOC 30 years, close to it, at the '96 Olympics to replace that medal. And so it's just not something that they do that regularly. And it was a surprise, and a really pleasant surprise at that, to be getting that news. And it proved to be, gosh, it's just a life raft of sorts for me. At that time, they flew me and my son, who is a senior in high school now. He's a competitive swimmer. He was too young
follow
to
the tradition of your family, which dates back to your father, right, and grandpa.
Yeah, my father and grandfather also swimmers. A long line of swimmers, and but he was too young to have seen my competing days, or remember them anyway. And so to be able to share that with my son, the president of the International Olympic Committee awarded me 10 replica medals, and it meant a lot. Again, big understatement there. It meant a lot.
It meant a lot. Yeah. Yeah. We first heard about it from Chris Cook, a fellow Olympic swimmer from Great Britain. And, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, that, look, it was hard enough to understand the tragedy, but it affected you, right? An Olympic gold medalist, somebody we knew amongst our expert judges here. And so, speaking about a community, we are building a healthcare community of champions, healthcare champions community, as we call it here, because we've been through this 4 years. We're now launching a 5th year, right? Innovation has to move particularly fast in medicine. So we can't wait every 4 years, Gary. So my question is, how do you define healthcare champions based on your own experience, given that you are a healthcare champion as well?
I think the best in the industry are altruistic, that are either personally touched. That's what drives them. They have a family member, someone that they love that has been affected by a condition. And at the heart of the matter, they want to alleviate human suffering. And so this is a noble pursuit. And it gets complicated, as everybody here knows, once you get into the ranks and the system. And, I, through so many years, heard in diabetes research that researchers saying, we want to put ourselves out of business. We want to find the cure and put ourselves out of business. And I still have yet to see that happen. And so on the tech side, all these coders and programmers have built an AI machine that is displacing them. That's kind of the promise of that researcher who says, I want to put myself out of work. And ultimately, there's tremendous sacrifice in that. And so I really like the people who are opening up a conversation about how do we realign incentives in this space so that people are able to and rewarded for delivering on that promise of wanting to put themselves out of work.
Yeah, that's a very, I think, reflective, deeply reflective comment that you made there that I've also thought about a lot. But without sacrifice, you don't have a lot of innovation, right? And there is a lot of sacrifice in altruism. So type 1 diabetes, you're very much an activist, and very close to the research in type 1 diabetes. Can you provide us with just some update or on what you're excited about, what you're seeing? Because I know that you work with many pharmaceutical companies as well, type 1 diabetes.
We're getting close. We're getting close to a cure, and I'm reading headlines that China has made a claim to have cured type 1 and type 2 diabetes. The cell therapy. This was the promise a long time ago, and it's taken so much advocacy. I remember the early days of cellular research talking about mad scientists, making it an abortion issue, and making North Korea is going to clone a super army, and the fears that had to be addressed and alleviated in order to move this through the halls of Washington D.C. This is the end result. Is we are now at the doorstep of curing diseases, and what an exciting time! I'm so hopeful now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Are there any particular specific companies like iTolerance that you would want to maybe call out or distinguish?
I'd like to recognize a very dear friend of mine who the CEO of iTolerance recently passed away, and so that was a tough loss. He was a friend of mine, and this was very recent. But there are several others companies out there that are on a similar path, and being able to cure diabetes without the need for immunosuppression drugs, and the lifelong kind of care that takes and the complications that accompany it.
Yeah. Olympians, winners, champions, they know how to overcome obstacles. And I actually had a chance this year to go to the Olympics for the first time. It was a personal lifelong dream. I took my family, my children there. I promised them that they would meet Olympic gold medalists, and I kept that promise, by the way, Gary. But of course, in the United States, we all heard the comeback of Lindsey Vonn, right? And she had an ACL. She managed to become the number 1 ranked skier in the downhill in the World Cup. Built great momentum. Fell again in the training run, then got back up, and I remember those emotions just of even like of seeing her and that number 13 on her, the bib, and I just had like this inkling, this one thought that, oh, number 13. I was just praying in my mind, not even being a big downhill fan. I'm a huge fan of sports, but what do you make of Lindsey Vonn's comeback and attempt? And what were some of your highlights from this most recent Olympics in Milan?
Well, Lindsey Vonn is an incredible example of that never say die mentality that took her to the top. And, it was hard to watch her push through these barriers, risking her health and safety, all for the pursuit of that dream, and the amount of sacrifice that she has shown. It was moving. It was moving to see that, how committed she was to racing. The other events that I absolutely loved, I watched. I really don't want to insult her. I'm so sorry, because her name is escaping me at the moment, but raccoon tail hair figure skater girl. She was adorable. She was so like charismatic, and her hair kind of looked like a raccoon tail. And she was the embodiment of joy. And what she did better than anyone was be present and enjoy the experience. And she won as a result of it. It was unstoppable. It was just a thing of beauty, so graceful, but so joyful as well. And ultimately, despite all the pressure that exists out there, that's what we're looking for. I mean, the best athletes are enjoying themselves out there. And I loved seeing that. And also, who can argue that the men's hockey, that one got me up out of my chair and moving about the room, getting the teeth knocked out and scoring the game-winning goal. Hey, I like that guy.
Yeah. There was we went to 2 events in Milan Cortina. The first one was figure skating, and given I'm from the Republic of Georgia originally, I live now most of my life in the United States. It just so happened that Georgia had won its first ever medal in the Winter Olympics, silver medal. And so we were coming out from the event backstage, right? And we saw one of the competitors, Sara Conti from Italy, who was crying, and it seemed like she was very distraught, very just was really suffering, because this. And I want to just show one quick clip, to the audience, because my family and my children, they were there and they were telling me, don't say anything to her now, because I wanted, I promised them to get an autograph, and I did it anyway. And I just want to show this clip. So we ended up turning her tears into. She ended up being a very strong, big sport. She smiled, and I told her that we're from Georgia, but and because I knew that she was competing against other athletes from Georgia originally, and now we live in the United States, and I told her that you're champions. That's all I told her, that you're real, true champions. You and her, it was as a pair, And it was just a very touching moment, because just the fact that whether or not you win or you lose, you try your best. And sure, it would have been amazing to hear your home country's anthem right? And that's what she was probably hoping. And we just wanted to demonstrate that appreciation of being a champion with that guy. Just magari questo. Poi il Caruso, poi il programma avete fatto, siete proprio campioni.
Grazie.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to life, that one moment, which to me really remained to this day, Gary. Well, I want to make sure that others also get a chance to ask some questions. We're getting some comments here. Okay, Alyssa Liu. There we go. There's the answer, Gary, from Charles Legg, our investor and one of our expert judges here. So, yes, that was Alyssa.
Thank you.
So,
Alyssa Liu. Yes.
So before we move on to questions from others, also, I want you to tell us about a new adventure that you're embarking on now that you must be very excited about, and that's Anchorline Sports. I know you're CEO of Anchorline Sports. Tell us a little bit about your company, your vision.
Anchorline Sports is the rights aggregator, and we aim to build out a sports betting platform for Olympic adjacent sports.
Oh, interesting.
That today you can't watch a basketball, football, baseball game without seeing DraftKings and FanDuel. And they are changing the fan experience, the way people engage with sport. And it's not for everyone. This is understood, and I'm not advocating for that. But it's an incredible, this is proven it is a proven fan engagement tool. And all these sports, Olympic sports, the governing bodies, the leagues, the federations, they compete for viewership, to attract and retain fan base, and the sponsors that follow that fan base, looking to reach that fan base. And so what's happened is these big money sports are just getting further and further ahead. They've got, incredibly savvy marketing, business development people. And the Olympic sports remain underfunded. For as much as the Olympic Games mean to all of us, most people don't know that the United States is one of only a handful of countries in the entire world where not a single federal dollar goes to support our athletes in any capacity. And so to continue to market themselves and attract and retain sponsors, I feel that we are providing these sports with a tool to compete against the big guys. And that is my objection. It's objective. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Well, good luck with that venture. I want to open it up to for others to also. This is a rare opportunity. Gary, let's. Does anyone have any other question among the judges? Maybe among the experts here. Yeah, go ahead, Graham. Graham, you're on mute.
Off mute.
Yeah, there we go.
Gary, thanks for sharing your story. I mean, the tragedy, the catastrophe that befell you, your family, and the community. I think few of us can imagine what that loss might feel like individually and to the whole community. My question is, was there anything that came out of that experience that gives you hope, or poor choice of words, a silver lining, or some good came of it?
Yeah, it takes time for silver linings to reveal themselves often. And just in the you're just so spun. I liken it to I go surfing and you get tumbled by a giant wave and it pulls you down and it's dark down there and cold and you don't know which way is up and you're just striving and not really getting anywhere, and then eventually you find your way to the surface and come up for air. And there was definitely that experience. Coming out of that, yes, there have been some very the vision of Anchorland Sports was seared. This vision seared into my brain immediately after the fire, and I knew that this was my path. And I have pursued this with the same vigor that I chased Olympic gold medals. And this is an obsessive pursuit. And this is a do or die situation for me. I have everything into this pursuit. And I'm feeling confident enough at this point to be talking about it publicly. So there's going to be a big announcement coming. But I don't think that I would have had that same drive, right? The same fire in my belly. Like I left that fire with a little piece of it inside of me.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I just, the only thing that I can compare this drive to is when I was chasing the Olympic gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a, great, comparison there. And which you won, those gold medals you won collectively by a margin of 0.01 seconds. Right. And as you often mentioned last time you were at our event. So
that's right. Yeah. Close calls. Yeah.
So we have a few comments here, Gary, from Heath Green. I just want to recognize everyone. Heath Green. So he's a friend of the event as well, marketing leader. And Chris Piedman right here with us. Yes, Alyssa Leo, he helped. And so, there's lots of connections. So please feel free to connect with Chris.
Very kind to offer. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help.
Yep, and thanks, Chris. Greg Mikalski also actually has a question, Gary, before we wrap up and move on to talk about the event this year. So he asks about what parallels you see from building championship teams and healthcare innovation companies.
Yeah, there are similarities. And I've weaved in and out of questioning through the years, lots of public speaking. What are those overlaps really? What does a defensive lineman have to say that can really relate to the day-to-day sales job of a call center employee or something like that? But truth be told, I think that there are real parallels. And so the team is most important. And the team is a reflection of its leadership. And in swimming, that means you've got a coach and you've got teammates. And both are there to take you outside of your comfort zone and to push you to the point of failure every single day. And are able to do it in a tough and demanding and respectful way. And that's what great leaders do in the workplace. They lead by example. They earn the respect of the people that they work with, and respect is earned. And so but that core unit, whether it's the executive suite or your division or whatever it is, or your lab, or it's the team, and the team, if they are able to work together, all ships rise with the tide, and everyone gets better.
Yeah. Well, we have a good suggestion, I think, from one of our investors and expert judges here coming back this year. Do you have any asks from the biotech and health tech community, Gary? Maybe this would be a good venue in which to maybe make a call to action, for your mission, for your company, or a personal ask. Thanks. Thank you very much for asking that question, by the way.
Yeah, I very much appreciate it. I feel very good about where I am. I really, because until a forthcoming announcement is made, there's not a whole lot that I can say, but I'm positioned well. I have a tremendous amount of support that I am so appreciative of. So at this point, I don't have any asks. I'm not, but just the fact that someone is offering is so encouraging and uplifting, and thank you.
Sure. Well, Gary, as I had mentioned, going live, really connecting with some of the brightest minds in the healthcare, connecting sports athletes, champions like you, with a lot of founders, scientists. This kind of requires and forces us, me personally, to take this event to a particular level every year, and and that was exactly the reason why I had publicly made a promise to you and to Bob Beamon, whom you both know each other. Bob Beamon happens to be a world record holder, at once longest running world record in the long jump. I had made a promise that we were going to build something significant, and I can tell you, Gary, since the time that you were our keynote speaker, we're breaking our own records here at this event in terms of how many sessions, how many speakers, the caliber of the competitors that we have. And you're going to hear from David Mead now as well. And so we're going to make sure that we live up to our promise. I will personally, the one that I made to you and Bob Beamon. Any final messages or your personal impressions of what we're building here, Medical Innovation Olympics? Now it's in its 5th year.
Congratulations, Tim, and keep up the good work. So impressed. All the champions I've ever met in business, politics, and sport, definitely. We're not obsessed about being the best. They were obsessed on being better. And you manage to do that each and every year. And you keep that up that work, and you're going to get to where you want to go and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. We wish you all the best. You're always welcome to participate and join and connect with this year as well, by the way. So,
thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Gary. Well, have a great day, and we'll see you soon, Gary. Feel free to stick around, of course. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to share the excitement that we have before we hear from David Mead as well, because he's going to tell us where he's taken his startup from last year. Okay, I want to just make sure that everyone knows that you can now go to medicalinnovationolympics.com. The website is now live. You can get all the details you need. You can sign up today. Okay, early bird pricing ends July 31st. Okay, and I just want to show you the website very quickly, how to navigate it. Very simple, right? You have, our mission of accelerating access, quality, and continuity of healthcare, which is fixed and stays every year, right? We have about 153 days left. You can learn about the format, the judges, the voting criteria here, okay, as well as on the rules page, okay. Nowadays, in healthcare innovation, we need to learn how to continue to reason, right? And we need to make sure that we know that reasoning, whether it's from AI or our own. And that's why, it's important to be crystal clear and also to accelerate treatment. Crystal clear, treatment near. Okay. Here are the 2 event categories: products, concepts. The submission types, you'll look at some of the areas of interest that we have: longevity medicine, cardiometabolic disease. Here are our industry expert judges as well this year. Some new faces, new names this year. Maybe we will be adding some others as well, so stay tuned to this website. Okay. Who should come? This is the format. We have the Olympic trials that are going to kick off June 12th and September 18th. Okay. And then there's multiple rounds of competition. All right. The criteria, this is how the judges are going to recognize your efforts, concepts, product category, which are specific and different. And then the live streams. This is the exciting part where you have 10 minutes to present, and then 2 minutes to close, to make your closing statements. And we've had a come from behind victory last year. But what we've shown every single year is that from Olympic trials to the finals, the scores increase every single time. Okay, so you're going to improve your chances of whatever milestone that you have. Finding a partner, finding an investor, just improving your pitch. Learning, competing, connecting, that's our model. And we're raising the stakes this year again, as we just talked, right? So you can learn more details. There's more details on the rules, okay, for every single stage. I didn't go over them now on purpose, but feel free to look at the official rules as well. How to submit. Okay, you can actually submit your concept or product directly on the website. It's very simple. You can contact us on how to sponsor and continue to support the mission that we have as well. I just want to make sure it appears here. You can set up a meeting and also apply to speak. There's a call for speakers where you can actually go on the website and join our expert panelists. Okay, in which we can share some of the highlights towards the end of this session here. So make sure to go to medicalinnovationolympics.com. And with that, I'd like to now invite, I just want to make sure that we have, there we go. David Mead. David Mead, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience here again and tell us tell us about your company and the journey you've been through since last year.
Sure. Hi, I'm David Mead, the co-founder and CEO of Terra Bioforge. And our company engineers bugs to make more drugs. We are a strain engineering firm, and we specialize in these large, gigantic pathways that encode billion-dollar compounds. You're used to hearing them called antibiotics, antivirals, anti-cancer type things, but they're small molecule drugs. And the way they're built is it takes a village of enzymes and sometimes hundreds of kb, hundreds of thousands of base pairs of DNA. So they're really complicated. And just to set the stage a little bit, remember back in the 70s when the first recombinant insulin, which was a really nice combo here for our past speaker, which was very inspiring, by the way. Before recombinant insulin came along, it was extracted from slaughtered pigs mostly. And there was a huge price problem. And worse than that, a huge purity problem. You would have autoimmune issues and things like that. And when they came up with a recombinant form, it was much higher purity. It helped decrease the cost, at least back then it did. Of course, there's a greed factor that made it go up here recently, but it just was a huge game changer. And no microbe makes much of anything for commercial purposes. It's almost always made in really trace small amounts. And so it takes a lot of background in biochemistry, genetics, pharmacology, and a lot of other fields to take a starting material and make a lot more of a biological. And it's even more complicated with small molecule drugs, because these pathways are dozens of proteins. Which one do you attack first? And how do you make the whole thing spin up? And what we've done is concentrated on not only capturing an entire pathway out of its original host, but being able to manipulate it and make more of it and put it back into a heterologous host, a different host, so that you can up the production or the purity or the type of analogs. And it's been a real fun journey, because there weren't any tools when we first started out. PCR is way too inadequate for these large chunks of the length is too big. The GC content is obviously too high for certain things. There's too many repeats. It's just everything is working against you. And we finally, after 2 or 3 years, not only figured out how to capture these things, but how to overexpress them. And it took a bunch of new tools to do that. So we're able to do now in a few months what used to take years and decades with old school methods like random mutagenesis or chemical mutagenesis, and even newer techniques like using CRISPR in vivo, which is a great way to attack one protein at a time, but it doesn't address the entire pathway. So we're really excited and proud to have developed a tool that dramatically improves the titer of a small molecule pathway, and titer is money. That's the driving factor of whether you can make enough of it to be commercially viable, and then make it enough of it to be even affordable for patients. And so the contest that we entered last year, that Tim sponsored, we were still kind of raw when we got going on it. And what that helped us understand was, A, listening to the other competitors, how they did their presentations, what they emphasized, and things like that. And regardless of how technically sophisticated you are, the real story, the real message has to be reduced to a form that anybody can understand. And that's the hardest part for me as a science nerd, a tech nerd. And it has to make business sense. And that's another thing that's not easy for scientists. And even though this is my second company, I still tend to dwell too much on the technology instead of how to make it make sense and how to make it make money. And so this competition, because it was iterative, it gave me a chance to think about how to improve it in that. But I also have to point out that I'm not a born speaker. I'm not very good at it. And I'm way into the weeds in the tech talk. And so the thing that helped me the most was finding some mentors that could coach how to do those things. And I went through an accelerator, the Bullpen Accelerator, which I know Tim is a part of. And some of those folks, lay people, coaches, smart business people, helped put it into practice from a how do you make it make sense and simplify it and make it understandable. And that was a huge improvement of where we were. And so when I joined Tim's contest, I was still in the iterative phase of that. And so with more practice and more seeing what other folks are doing, came up with improvements, I think, that made a difference. And it was a really good experience from a practice standpoint. I got to admit, I can't believe we won. That's part of my, what do you call it, imposter syndrome. But it wasn't because I'm better or smarter than anybody else, but I think it was because I learned how to tell the story clearly and how to make it make commercial business sense. And you've got to get through all of that to, get to the next level. And since then, we've gone on and decided, I was doing a lot of random walks trying to find investors, and we've decided to target certain investors who are in our space. What a concept, right? And that has made all the difference in the world. So we've got a term sheet now, and we're almost done with due diligence. And we'll see, what happens funding-wise after that. But it's been quite a journey, and it is a full-time job. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, David, so much for being so candid with with what this event meant to you, and I'm only glad that we're making that at least a very small impact in accelerating innovation in healthcare through just creating this type of atmosphere, right? And this format with feedback, with transparency, with quite intense but connections, right? That I'm glad that you made as well. Any advice you have for me, MIO 2026?
Yeah, so Gary is absolutely right. You need a good team if you're going to be successful, and you need mentors who can coach and suggest alternatives. So there was some of that at the beginning, but I would like to maybe suggest that you spend a little bit of time in the front end helping coach. Let's face it, when you're first starting out in this, you're a rookie and you are not aware of all the best practices. So if you could set up a little bit of that for people at the front end, that might help them bridge the startup gap that everybody experiences and goes through to get you more polished and more professional and more business-like.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, David. Let's see, Graham. Anyone else? Any other messages or lessons from last year before we turn into a few highlights? And go ahead, Graham.
So yeah, David, you hit the nail on the head. You really did. And it was my advice to anyone I spoke to. There's two things. It's what's the impact? Why should anyone care? Now, you've got to get funding. You've got to get the attention of the investors. The big why with a compelling, clear story makes all the difference. And then number two, do you have a commercial plan? So is it feasible? You've caught their attention. Can you make it work and execute? It's those two things. And I think we all, myself being a scientist as well, we love the detail. We love, diving into the science and the technology and the solution. But I honestly think here, and this is true for every CEO, entrepreneur, keep the story simple, relatable, and exciting. So yeah, you came across as being extremely clear. And I think that's one of the reasons you won. You clearly laid out the problem, the solution, and a path to commercialization. But more importantly, why? Congratulations.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah, that's very well said there, and I'm glad that you're actually you did that here, Graham, as well, because the scores are great, the numbers are great, but it's really this type of candid feedback that I think our competitors have been receiving, and that's where the value is also. But speaking of the numbers and from an analytic standpoint, and just from a competitive perspective, David, you held the lead throughout the competition. So I do want to recognize that. And it's not very easy to do. It's a little bit easier to come from behind, right? But you kept the lead, and throughout the 4 weeks, you demonstrated discipline. And so I think you're a very strong example. I'm glad you, shared some of your lessons today and, your startup. And how can people get in touch with you?
So if you're interested in learning more about our technology or potentially working with us to commercialize it, www.terrabioforge.com is our website, and DMEAD at terrabioforge.com is how you can get a hold of me.
All right. Wonderful. Well, I want to share also one clip from Ankur Patel, who was the other gold medalist who wasn't able to join us here today to share his story. But he's from Regenova, and based on our very unique, transparent format, he was trailing by a little bit at the end of his 10-minute initial presentation. Okay, after the Q&A, he had and so then after the Q&A, he had 2 minutes, just like his other competitor, Brett Quigley, and he came from behind. And just want to share a 1 minute clip from that right here. We have Ankur Patel. Ankur, congratulations. Come from behind victory. 43.33. All right. Ankur, wow. I don't know. I'm speechless. Congratulations on your gold medal and a strong come from behind victory. Ankur, we're proud to present you with $5,000 prize.
Thank you.
There's more. This is a symbolic prize. There's more to it than that in the relationships that you have formed with all our expert judges, the articles, again, the blogs that a lot of our colleagues and leaders in the industry will see. Wow. Brett, congratulations on just a tremendous effort leading. We had you guys, both of you were in a very tight race. Ankur was leading after the first week. Brett had won the qualifiers, the Olympic trials, and Ankur came back very dramatically. So Brett, congratulations on your silver medal. Again, this is a symbolic prize. This is the gift here is of the knowledge that everyone has shared and the exposure. And now it's all up to all of you to nourish these relationships moving forward. Okay. Yeah. So all right. Let's see. I just want to make sure I see everyone. Okay, there we go. We didn't have video there for a second. Well, yeah, I think it's an important message there also to continue this, the connections that we have year to year. And yes, it was quite intense, but there's also a lot of connection, a deeper connection. We take time to recover from a lot of the competitions, the strategies as well. We have a comment here. Oh, okay, from Charles Legg. Yeah, so it's an iterative process for everyone. Okay, absolutely. Great. Yes, yep. Yeah, absolutely. Continuous feedback. Yeah. But so as I was saying, it's quite intense in terms of competition, presentations, right? You get a chance to really polish it. But also we take some time off as well. And I want to make sure that those who are watching, who are considering, okay, should I spend time in this, right? And should I, and how long does it take, or what type of networking can I expect? There was also some music as well, right? From one of our expert judges, longevity researcher and biohacker, John Hemming. And I just want to share a little bit of music as well. Just.
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mommy's good looking. So hush, pretty baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. You're gonna spread your wings and take to the skies. And on that morning there ain't nothing gonna hurt you, baby. With Mama and Papa by your side.
All right. Yeah, so that's one of your fellow expert judges there, Graham. John Hemming from Great Britain. It's a global event, and as you can see, we're ready to experiment. Okay, he actually had a whole setup there, played guitar live, right?
And Tim, you're being modest. You have some pretty darn good chops too. I saw you singing.
Oh, okay.
In one of your bands, so very good.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, let's see. Any personal highlights? I'll share maybe a couple more on genetic editing, epigenetic editing from CEO Amber Saltzman, as well as longevity medicine platform from various global speakers, David Barzilai, namely, and Melissa Norcross on AI, our expert judges. So I want those who are watching to just get a little bit of a sense of some of the topics we've touched upon, because there's learning that's going on as well, right? In the opening ceremony and closing ceremony. And so I'll do that to close, but anything else that you, either of you, what are you excited about this year, about this event? And by the way, David, feel free to attend. You're going to be attending, and Graham will be our judge. Any final messages to our competitors, to our courageous competitors and attendees who care about innovation in medicine?
Practice, practice, practice.
Okay, that's great. Graham, anything else?
Well, can't wait for this year's Medical Innovation Olympics, the competition. Just really excited to see all the new ideas, the technology, the solutions that have been conceived and then developed and then put into practice. Everyone who has started a venture knows how much effort goes into that. It really does pay to think of the story that captures everyone's imagination and touch the audience, no matter who you're talking to. You're talking to the media about telling your what your company does, your idea does. You're talking to investors to help, attract some funding. You're talking to a scientific audience. That storytelling, I think, is key, and it's one of the reasons I think David and Anka won last year. Well, very much, is you could relate, you could understand the impact, the real world impact to people's lives.
Great. Well, thank you. Enjoyed these clips, about 4 or 5 minutes. Those of you who are watching, feel free to ask questions, but we're going to end the session with the clips coming up here. Thank you, Graham, David, for joining me live today, and see you soon.
You mentioned that I have a PhD in math, which usually I'm embarrassed to say, but since you mentioned it, one of the things about math, when you do a problem today, tomorrow, next year, the solution is the same. You're going to get the same number to the decimal points. Human biology is not like that. There's a lot of variability. So even if you do the same bench experiment today and do the exact same thing tomorrow, the results will be hopefully very similar, but they're not identical to the nth degree. Mm-hmm. And if we just take that as a basis, patients, there's a lot of variability, and it takes the right kind of people to be able to look at a slew of data and figure out what story that data is telling you, and then go back and verify that you got the right story. So that's one, really surrounding yourself with people with that kind of experience and vision and stamina. And then also having the people to say, look, we're never going to have all the answers, and we can't be irresponsible. These are human lives, but they're also waiting on us. So when do we know enough to know that it has a really good reason to be of benefit, and have a really good reason to believe that the risk out is nothing compared to the benefit? And that's really, as I've gotten older, I must say, I used to think, 50-50, you have to have a good science, good technology, 50% good people. And I keep changing that. I feel like you have to have 90% of it is the people, and 10% is that you start with the right thing.
So my thoughts, one of 4 major takeaways from us and major roles you can take is, one, we should fund aging and prevention research with the same commitment we do for late stage diseases. Yeah. Let's focus on drivers of aging related conditions so we can address them earlier and better. My second point is that clinicians should be trained for prevention and personalized medicine as a craft. I think this should be integrated deeply into our medical education, not just in executive master's programs. From the very beginning, treating prevention with the same rigor as acute care, and also so we can design individualized and personalized care. My third of 4 points is I think the public really deserves clear, unbiased translation of health science. And the idea of that for any regulators or those in biopharma who are looking at this is it's not just you're lowering cost, you're making people more productive for lifespan. So these investments pay multiple fold if done right. And that's what we're all asking you to do, asking you what role you can play in this. My final point is, I think preventive medicine, we should make it easier for people to employ it than to avoid it. So I think we should have insurance companies understand the value of long-time investments too, as well as research funding. Longevity medicine, which was a theme for today, it shouldn't be boutique care for the lucky few. It should be something for all of us, and that's my final point.
Few themes that you've brought out is when it comes to AI, especially on leading through it, is that first defining the right problem and think about the impact that it has, and focus on the right problem with the right end impact. Secondly, to think at a system level rather than just at individual components of it, how it gets used in situ. Build learning systems that adapt and improve with AI in the loop instead of on the sidelines or leading it.
So we should start, I think, at least.
All right. Okay. I'm going to just show the website again. Medical Innovation Olympics.com, everyone. Registration is live.